Welcome back to another episode of The State of the Strong, a podcast brought to you by Bull Brand. If you've watched any of the last episodes, then you know that here we have the best time with the best conversations. My name is Sibum Banza, the second best podcaster in South Africa. The first is sitting right next to me. Lirai, how are you doing?
I love you. You know that. The way you hype me up.
Always.
I absolutely love it. Great. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you. Probably my favorite part of my week is coming here and filming these podcasts with you.
Oh, so cold, so early, but it's the bestest ever.
Comments, please make sure you say, Sibu's the sweetest guy in the world. Okay, thank you.
No. We are not opening relationship applications for you.
Yo, Tlima.
Okay, no, wait. Let's get to the business for today, okay? I'm super excited because the person that is joining us today is a conversation strategist. Have you ever heard that before? No, you have not. Okay, this is somebody, I feel like birds of a feather flock together. And here at the State of the Strong, we are doing exactly that. She has got so many accolades to her name. I'm not even going to try
We'd be here
and remember
forever.
all of them, but she is absolutely amazing. And we're just going to get a bit of insight from her today. Miss Alma Akob, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm absolutely excited to have you here today.
Look, I'm so excited to be here. Absolutely love what you're doing, love what Bull Brand is doing, and just to be a part of it is exciting.
All right.
We're about to play our favorite game. It's about to be a competition. I need you to be serious. This is do or die. Okay. I have slips of paper that have prompts on them. I'm going to hand them to you. Get as many done as you can in 60 seconds. This is 60 seconds of strong.
You ready?
No.
Good. 5, 4,
Four,
3, 2, 1. Let's go.
What am I supposed to do with
You read it and you finish it.
The future looks bright. The time is now. Metaverse is scary. Dreams are valid. Android is second to Apple. Unemployment rate skyrocketing. Entrepreneurship a must because there are no jobs in the country.
Nice.
Being your own boss is essential. South Africa is a film, a movie, a joke. Eskom is... Debit orders are not fun, not cute, don't do it.
30
Hip-hop
seconds.
is changing very rapidly. I don't like it. Slay queens are... fun. Family is all that you need. Umjolo is stay away from it. It's scary. You get heartbroken. Black Twitter is everything and so much more.
15 seconds.
Strength is much needed. Solar power is what we should be having, but it's too expensive apparently, so we don't have it. iPhones are great, but expensive for no reason.
3 seconds.
Power is what everyone needs. Load shedding, sick and tired. Why?
Tired.
It's illegal.
Sick and tired. Why is the best answer to load shedding. Sick and tired. Why? Should we do a count?
Let's do it. I feel like...
Do I win something? Do I get to win?
Wait.
Let's see first.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yo, that's a lot.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 21.
That definitely puts you in like our top 3 that we've had.
Wonderful.
You flew.
Good.
I love
I'm
Alma
glad.
already.
You said competition, I ran.
I feel like this has been most of your life though, Alma. Just taking it to the top every single time and not too late, not too early, at a young age. I want to get through all of this, but we need you to take it from the beginning. Briefly from the beginning. How is it possible that somebody so young has achieved so much in such a short space of time?
The year was 1999.
It was
A
a
little
cold
baby was
winter morning.
So, I mean, I've just always grown up being inspired by stories, been inspired by storytelling, and especially the African story.
Yeah.
Because if there's one thing we know, it's that other people have been telling our stories on our behalf for the longest time. And so having this innate desire to tell African stories, this desire to be the representation, I said, look, excellence it's going to be a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It has to be, because people are watching. And if people are watching, they need to see something good. They need to see something to look up to. And so growing up, I mean, my parents used to tell me that I was the entertainment when family friends would come over. Like literally, if you are running late, if you haven't cooked, just put Elma in the middle and dash off, because I would start speaking to people in baby language, using hand gestures and facial expressions, ooh, baba, all the things.
How old are you?
Currently, Kenny,
Time.
I was like, what, like a couple of months?
Shy equals MC squared.
Yeah,
or-
straight. So I started going to school at 2 years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like grade R or grade 1?
grade R.
That's
Trauma. Because why would they send me to
Yeah.
school so early? But apparently I didn't want to stay at home and I wanted to learn. Started going to school, started doing public speaking competitions, found my voice. And then being the entrepreneur that I am, started asking myself, how can I make money with this voice? And thus started my voiceover career, which is, what I do. I'm a voiceover artist, record for Disney, Netflix, Cloudtrain, NetBank, and 100 other companies, which is great. Just thought, let me just drop those names. Just thought. And just being a voiceover artist and thinking to myself, as a young person, other young people are out there. Africa needs African voiceover artists. We can't be having movies like Black Panther and people are saying their blood will be stripped away, because we don't sound like that, essentially. So let's get African artists. Let's get African artists recording for these companies and these clients. And then that led to the founding of my company, Elevate Africa Academy, where we train voiceover artists and we train public speaking all over the continent.
I want to go back to little Alma, right? 2-year-old that's in grade R. We'll get to that one because wow, right? But I think we've only seen this wave of representation for people that look like us in the media in the past 10, maybe 15 years.
Very
It's
true.
being so mainstream,
Yeah.
right? But that younger version of you didn't have that. So what did you look at and what were your influences or the things that made you say, okay, this is something that I can do? Things that gave you the vocabulary.
Yeah. I think, look, let me be super cliche and say my mom, right? So, but it really was. I had a working mother. She was like one of the first to drive in my little, where I was from, and just looking up to her and how she was traveling the world and doing, amazing things all over. I thought, look, if she can do it, I have to do better, not the same, better. And so being able to see her do it, and then growing up seeing Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie do it, just seeing these voices that started to come up and realizing that there's so much power in representation. Once you see someone who looks like you said, doing it, someone who sounds like you doing it, it automatically starts breaking down those walls, those barriers, those tables that have been set up. You start to see that it is possible. And that possibility is what pushes you forward.
And then how do you survive that landscape? Okay, we can move forward from like a grade R. Let's say, when was the first time, I'd say in primary school, where people realized that you weren't necessarily in the right place? Like you were in a grade a bit higher than everybody else. When did you notice that things are a little bit different for me?
I think I would say, was it like grade that's 6, grade 4, 5, 6,
That would make
5,
sense,
6
yeah.
about, because, obviously, what was that? How old were people in grade 4 and 5, 6?
Grade 4, we like 10, 9, 10, yeah.
So then maybe it was grade 7.
Sure.
Because everyone was like going into high school as a teenager, and I was going into high school, I think it was 11 or 12.
Cool, yeah.
And just, starting to see people are moving forward in their development. And I'm like, my brain is developed, but I obviously wasn't a child long enough. I didn't get to play games long enough because I automatically switched into maturity very quickly. So just realizing that, noticing that everyone's, trying to get boyfriends and girlfriends. And I'm like, okay,
Couldn't
then
be bothered.
are we still not playing Stuck in the Mud? When did we stop playing Stuck in the Mud?
Yeah.
When did this transition happen? And so it was about that time.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow.
I want to talk about, I guess, navigating that social landscape as somebody, especially as a female, a young Black female who is excellent academically, brain-wise, but you're in the social landscape where everybody is, moving.
So yeah, so that was my life, right? And I mean, everyone's doing this and this night, that and this night, and I'm like going back with my friends to go and study.
Sorry, when was first year for you? At what
First
age?
year I was 16.
Okay.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So first year I was 16 and just going through uni and, obviously trying to discover myself because
Sure.
everyone has sort of kind of already discovered themselves and they're living in that. I'm still trying to find myself. But then being mature, growing up and looking back at it, I don't think I missed out on anything because even if I could do those things, it wasn't necessarily my kind of vibe anyways. And that's important when we speak about being individualistic, you know, having your own personality, not trying to be everyone else, realizing what you think is fun and being okay with that, even though it might be a little bit weird for people, being okay with that and just living in yourself fully.
I want to understand what the home environment was like for Alma. I mean, you're not originally from South Africa. You're from Cameroon.
Yes, I am.
And I mean, there's obviously this spirit of excellence, African excellence, that I'm sure you guys have in your family. What was it like being that young person and obviously being pushed to keep doing the things that you need to do, which we can see the results now today. But what was it like navigating that? And do you think, or perhaps what are the characteristics that were instilled in you or were developed at a young age that contribute to where you are now?
So much. I mean, my dad is a vice chancellor.
Of course he is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
So let's get that out the way. There we go.
Yeah, runs in the family.
And then there's 5 of us in my family. 4 of the 5 have PhDs, which means I'm the last one. So, and my sisters are 27 and 29. And they've got their PhDs, dad, mom, sister, and now it's me.
That's incredibly
Very young,
ages to have
exactly.
PhDs.
And I mean, I'm working on my PhD as well, and I'm 24. So the goal is
I needed to scream a bit on the side.
the goal is to be done by 26 and finish fastest in the family.
Let's go. We will be there.
Growing up in excellence, like I said, was a lifestyle. It was inscribed into our everyday, our facet of our daily life. It was non-negotiable. And a lot of the times people will think that's so much pressure for a young person, but my dad managed to do it so well. He made us think it was our own ideas. I don't know how he did that. He made us do PhDs and we're like, yeah, I want to do a PhD, not because my dad said it, I want to do it. But then you look back and you're like, this was probably all his plan. He orchestrated this so well. And just wanting to be the best at everything and striving for excellence, like I keep on saying, in all spheres of life, seeing it being emulated by your sisters, by your parents. It's such a privilege. It's an honor. I always say it's something that not everyone gets to experience. And it's a privilege that I was able to be in that household and see it every single day. I mean, every day it was, this person has this certificate, that person has one top in the school, what. So there was like an internal, not even a competition, there was just this internal like, yeah, that's us, I can't wait to finish my PhD in 2 years and we all take this photo with the red robes and like post it and say the family of doctors, period. So yeah.
I love that. I want you to elaborate a little bit for me because I know that there's a lot of people who are listening or watching the podcast who are students who are in some form of education and the people around them either are too much pressure or, for example, love my mom to death, mums, or me, but my mom was very casual. My mom was very chilled. People say their parents used to ask for their reports at the end. My mom, it's fine. No, Basile. Okay. My mom was very and I think it did work well for me because I was a very anxious child. So if she was too much, I'd have probably broken down. But then, so I'm asking from your side and your family, what do you think? How do you think they found that middle ground of not being too much, but also not being too lackluster?
Was there a middle ground?
There was. There was. Okay. That's a good point. Just to respond to your first point about not asking for marks, I remember in grade 1 coming back home, I came second in class and telling my dad I came second in class, and he's like, and who came first? It's like, who came first? And I'm like, it's this boy. And he goes, why? And I'm like,
you get 91%. They say, where's the other?
Yeah.
And so how they found this balance was very early. We were made to realize what it is we wanted to be in life. So I, for example, know that as a young Black woman, it's going to be very hard for me to stand in spaces with business people and tell them that, hi, my name's Alma, I'm 24, and I'm here to present my business, not as a youth entrepreneur, not as a female entrepreneur, but as a business woman, and take me seriously. And so my dad got us to understand that, look, titles, especially when it comes to academia, when you have that doctor title, it does make a difference, right? As much as, everyone's like, PhDs are outgraded, cool. Once you have that doctor title, it gives you there's a different dynamic to it. When you walk into spaces and you confidently say, hi, my name's Dr. Akob, even when you go into banks, they start telling you, is that so? Let's get over to the private lounge.
Let's find
coffee. You know what? Do you like some coffee? We have private clients. This is what we offer them. And so there is that sort of dynamic to it. And so realizing that this is where I want to be. This is what I need to do to get there. how much do I need to do? How much work do I need to put into it? So the middle ground was not pushing for the sake of here's pressure, just be good. It was for the sake of there's an end goal that you want, not me. My dad always said, look, I'm not going to make you do anything that you don't want to do. What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you think what you're currently doing is going to get you there? What do you need to do to get you there? So
I know we were laughing when you hit us with the twang just now, right? But I think there's something so important that I want us to go and focus back on that. You spoke about navigating the class and social structures that have already been set out, and we know what past we have as not only South Africa but African countries. Yeah. And as like I said, young Black women, you have to navigate those in a certain way, and you have to know how to position yourself so as to be taken seriously. It's that thing of like, you have to work 3 times as hard just to be at the same level as somebody. And I mean, you speak about this level of excellence that became a norm for you. And when I link those two together, it's like we're building the puzzle, you know. You link those two together and I see the culture that you were brought up in, the culture that you live your life in, and how those things set up and pave the way for certain level of excellence and achievement and success and the future that we need in South Africa. In Africa. I'm gonna actually expand it to Africa, you know, because that's really what it is. Sure, sorry. I want you guys to just take that in first of all, just what it is to navigate those structures. Now, what do you think it is, looking at what you have and the lessons that you've learned in your life? What do you think young people can take away from that? Perhaps I want to just focus on characteristics. Let's make it simple. What are the things that we need to have in the culture that we need to build so that we can get to this level?
Yeah. I think the first thing would be to realize that we're not living in this world alone, right? There's 7 billion plus other people. And what we don't realize is your network, your sphere of influence, your circle is the most important group of people you will ever need in life. And so when you start making it, when you start developing yourself, don't forget to take others up with you. As young women, there tends to be this, this idea, this fallacy, if I would say, that exists, that women put each other down. And even Black people, let me get down to Black people don't want to see each other thrive, because we see that if there's one position in the company, that 1% that needs to be Black, it will be me, and I will make sure it's me and no one else. My first point would be, my first point would be that we're not doing this alone. Sure. So don't forget to take others with you in the journey. Secondly, you need to be able to visualize excellence for yourself, because it's no longer good enough to just be in the wave after wave and just living life. You know how we used to say YOLO?
Yeah.
Just chill, guys.
Go with the flow.
Just go with the flow. There's no time for that. And if not for yourself, realize there's others looking up to you. And that's what I always say. Yes, it is about you, but at the same time, it's not about you. Because of the history that we have as a continent, because of the history that we have as a country, we each have a responsibility to be representation for a better future. And so we need to take that responsibility and take it critically, right? So team, excellence, and I think the third one would just be start having a positive outlook to the future. A lot of our surroundings can make us really think that things are going south and going south very quickly. The ship is sinking and we are at the top waving the flag, singing Celine Dion's song. But then being positive just means change that perspective, change that mindset. Refuse to accept that the country is going down. Refuse to accept that the continent is going down because of you. Even if you are doing the slightest thing that has no impact on what Cyril Ramaphosa is doing, wherever you are having an impact, let that be your own small country. So,
let that be your own small country.
Wherever you're having an impact.
Let me just, where's my
Write
pen
that down.
quickly?
Write that down.
App real quick.
This is what we need right here.
Alma, I wanted to ask you, you said you're originally from Cameroon, but you've been here for most of your life in South Africa. So I can say you're South African. Yeah. You are very South African. You are one of us. What is your favorite thing about being South African?
Can I just tell you my story?
Go for it.
It was back in 1990.
Once again.
When I arrived in South Africa, it was grade 3.
Sure.
I went to KZN, KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, And I arrived there. I'm a grade 3. You know, first of all, I'm too young. Everyone's asking me, why is she in class? I joined in August. It's like, why is there a new girl joining in August? And the idea was that I would be there August to December, then I would start that year again. But then I did August, December, and they're like, nah, she's more now.
And you probably kumshing, eh?
Yeah,
English.
straight.
Yeah, kumshing definitely. Yeah. In KZN, Baba.
And so my first interaction, first I come from, you know, West Africa. I've got beads in my hair. I'm looking all proper Africa. Like you can hear Africa as I'm walking. And this black girl comes up to me. She speaks Zulu, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand
your language.
And she's like, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And she goes, where are you from? Are you from Joburg? I'm like, no, Cameroon. And she goes, you don't speak Zulu in Cameroon? I'm like, sweetie, I don't.
One thing about my people, they will ask you. Yeah.
And so that was my first interaction, and that in itself was my favorite thing because of the pride. Look, there's this South African pride that is in the fiber of your being. That everywhere you go, everything you do, you stand out. And you take pride in that person. I mean, when we see South Africans going out there and do great things, you know, Uncle Waffles, Chevanoa, etc., Zozi, it's just the South African pride to stand behind them and be like, yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
Amapiano's us. No, it's not you. It's not Afro beats. It's us. You know what I mean? And that it's brilliant to see.
I love that. Like, I think about that often as South Africans. We, not to be the bearer of bad news, but we can be a very discontent people, but somehow extremely patriotic at the same time. Like, I feel like those things, it's a struggle to put them together, and somehow, you know, that's something that we do.
I want to go to Miss Conversation Strategist, right? And first of all, I love to hear, that's what I call myself, you know? I love to hear that, but I want to just to break it down for those that perhaps aren't aware of, but also just it's basically this culture of having conversations that matter, that open up people's minds. Why do you think it's important for us to sit down and have these sort of conversations? And what's your approach to being a conversation strategist?
So I'll take this from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie says, the problem with a single story is not that it is untrue, but it is incomplete. It makes one story the only story. And therein lies why we need to tell stories, because for the longest time, there's been a single narrative about the whole continent that we all follow, that, I mean, the West follows. You go to America and they're like, Africa, nje. It's not South Africa, it's not Zambia, it's not Uganda, it's
one thing.
It's Africa, the country of Africa, essentially. And so being able to have conversations and tell stories is being able to say, hold on, we're from different countries, but there's something that aligns somewhere. Like, we have similar backgrounds. How does that make sense that I'm coming from West Africa, you're in South Africa, but somehow we used to play the same childhood games? And that there's such a magic to that. And I think that's where humanity lies, in being able to realize that there's a golden thread between everything that we're doing. We're all somehow connected. We might not look the same, we might not sound the same, but we're all somehow connected. And that's the power of stories. Bridging the gap, bridging the connectivity. I always say that, look, if we could have had a sit-down conversation in the past, and it wasn't, a domination of this is what is right, you are wrong, this is what we do. If we could have a conversation, things could have been different. If we could hear each other, because now what's happening in the world is we're all screaming at each other. It's, this is me, this is who I am, take me as I am. It's this, there's only one way and that way is right. Everything else is wrong. We're not having conversations. And so we're stagnant. So conversations connect, unify. Yeah.
You know, there's a scholar, an African scholar, I think it might have been David Himbara, I might be wrong, but he said that Africa's unity will be achieved through a sense of shared trauma, that shared past that we have all together, right? And obviously from pain and the colonial history that we have as a continent comes strength, right? What do you think it is about the strength, the shared strength that we have, that we can use to apply to achieve that unity? Because you can see that right now, and the reason why I'm asking you this is because, of course, this is the state of the strong, but I see how you as somebody who, yes, you see yourself as South African, but you also see yourself as Cameroonian, and it's beautiful to, especially considering how much, we've had experiences of xenophobia in our country, not only in South Africa, across the whole continent, right? And I honestly and truly believe that if we are to get together and create this culture of excellence that we've been speaking about, work together, we can actually start moving forward as a country. What is it, I guess, going back to that strength, that we can do?
I think the first thing would be for us to realize that there is more of us than them. And what that means is there's more of us who want unity than those who don't want disunity. Those with disunity are just the loudest voices. They're the ones on the media. They're the ones trending on Twitter. But there are more of us who want a unified continent. There are more South Africans who want integration and to interact with foreigners than there are those who are against it. So in that, just realize you're not alone. There's a lot of people who, you know, appreciate you being here. Secondly, I would always say our strength is also our ability to remain positive because we've gone through so much. Because we've gone through the trenches, and it's not so long ago. I always say, guys, when people think of apartheid, when people think of colonization, they think decades, they think black and white pictures. It really, they're really alive today. You know, our grandparents, even our parents, some of them are alive. It was exactly, it's not this far-fetched thing that is we can't even conceptualize. Being able to go through that as a country, as a continent, and still being able to keep our heads straight takes so much strength. I mean, even with everything that's happening today, Eskom, etc., we're all unified by the ability to laugh at it. Because if we don't laugh at it, we'll go mad. And so, you know, that in itself, there's a strength in that. There's a strength in, as much as we have been beat down so many times, we're still positive about this possible future that we still haven't seen.
Yeah.
But it's just, this is something about Africans and just having this vision of possibility. And it's something that we all share. And if we could hang on to that, and if we could share that with ourselves and say, look, right now we're being distracted by all of these small issues. Let's keep reminding ourselves of the vision of possibilities.
Yeah, ne? So, introducing our third presenter of the State of the Strong.
I'm ready.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm a bit shook. I can see why you call. I can see why you call yourself a conversationalist. I'm gonna go in the dictionary. I'm gonna put it in my bio also now, since I took part with two other conversationalists. Alma, you're 22 right now.
24.
24. Sorry. Where do you see yourself in the next, I don't want to say like exactly 5 years, but in the next couple of years? You said you're finishing, well, are you going into your PhD or are you finishing your PhD?
I'm starting my PhD, so I'll finish in 2 years. Yeah.
Got you. Hey, look, she even said time. You know, most people who do PhDs, they say,
no,
I'll see when it ends.
No,
it will happen when it happens.
No,
like
this one will happen in 2 years, Shem. It has to. I'll be back. Call me back.
Okay.
I'll come back as doctor.
Say less. On season 7, producers. Yeah. Okay. We agreed.
Where do I see myself in 5 years? So I see myself leading a continental empire, if I can say that. So being a public speaking coach, public speaking trainer, our biggest competition is Toastmasters. And Toastmasters is a company that was started 100 years ago in America. When they started, and the same principles that were started back then are the same principles that are used right now. Toastmasters did not take into consideration that as Africans, we are flamboyant speakers. We do not do the textbook welcome to this. No, we're flamboyant speakers. We have different accents. We want to say yo in the middle of a speech. We want to express ourselves. And at Elevate Africa, that's exactly what we do. So we're training public speakers who can be themselves and who can shine in themselves and use their accents as a strength instead of thinking, I'm not going to speak because my voice sounds like this, etc., etc. That is part of your story. You better be proud about it. So I see myself running that company all over the African continent. I see us having branches in different countries. I mean, we're currently in South Africa. We're in Kenya. We're in Zimbabwe. We're 2 years old as a company. There's a lot to do in 2 years. And so in 5 years, I can only imagine what we would be able to do. But I also see myself as being one of the leading voices when it comes to conversations in Africa for Black women specifically, and for young people as well. Leaning into conversations like this, as well as other interviews, and just being a motivation or representation to a large number of young girls and young people who can see that, when you dream it and believe it, you can do it.
What's that African Union dream? That AU dream.
Actually, whip it out. So, I mean, I don't know. It can't be a 5-year goal.
Yeah, fair.
I walk into the AU and they'll be like, you want to be a chairperson at before 30?
Yeah.
So the African Union dream is a long-term plan. So I'd like to sit as the chairperson of the African Union. And I say it with my full chest. And I say with full confidence because I know it will happen. I believe that the African Union is not being as utilized as it should be. The African Union in its essence should be about African unity. And the fact that we don't hear that much coming from the African Union means that it's not being utilized. And so it needs young voices, it needs young faces, it needs people who are ready to take Africa to another level that the current people can't conceptualize. So that's where we're going.
Random question. I'm so sorry. This is like the academic in
Go
me
for
just
it.
wants to pick her brain on this. Do you see the African Union acting as a sovereign power across Africa? The same way the EU is.
I see it acting as a guiding power. Sovereign, unfortunately, won't happen because African countries, and this is so sad, because even our borders were as a result of colonization. But because of our borders being there, we've really taken into them, and we've bought into this idea of borders.
Yeah.
And so having a sovereignty that hovers and governs the continent, I don't think would be possible. If it is, give it 100 years maybe, so we won't be here.
Okay, what if we say regionally? Like we have ECOWAS being, we have, and the East Africa is getting into that now.
Yes.
What if we had that?
That's how it's supposed to be. So I think that regional governance could work. I mean, right now there's also like CEMAC, which is Central African Region, West African Region, et cetera. But as long as we are all, and this is where the African Union comes in as a guiding principle, guiding and saying that, yes, you are in those mini silos, but there should still be free trade agreement happening between West and North Africa. There should still be a one African visa that allows you to go throughout the continent. The fact that it costs me more to go home, Cameroon, than it would ever cost me to go to the UK is a problem.
Excuse me, ma'am.
The fact that there is no straight flights, it's a 5-hour flight to get to Cameroon straight. But instead, I have to do 6 hours to Ethiopia. Then I have to do another 6 hours from Ethiopia to Cameroon, 12 hours to fly within the continent. Problems like that are problems that the AU should address, because as countries, maybe they might not be able to do it on their own. But if the AU comes and says, listen, this is what we're doing, fix your flights, fix your whatever you need to do, and let's do it.
No, honestly,
I'm glad you said that.
This is what we could just go find the key words that we were saying, and that Alma, that you were saying in, in your response, because I need, especially my generation, our generation, to go and learn and read on these things so that you have a direction of where we need to go.
For the non-academic like me, I want to take it back to your day job of the presenting and the voiceovers. For the people who are listening here and listening to you as the voiceover artist, do you have any tips, last minute tips for anybody who's listening who wants to get into this space, even the space that we're in right now?
Yeah. So first thing would be, if you've got a talent, if you have something you believe in, you have to invest in it for it to make sense. This thing of just going wave after wave and saying that, look, I'm good at voiceover work, and so I'm just going to see how it goes. Invest in it. That's when it starts making sense to you. So invest in training with Elevate Africa.
Let's go.
Invest in training. Get yourself equipped to it so that when you step into the industry, you are your best self. The first impression is the most important. You don't want to have your first impression with a client and you're sitting there going, I have a nice voice, but I didn't know that, I would have to do soft sell, hard sell, etc., etc. So be prepared to go in. Also, there's no such thing as a Santon voiceover artist. There's no such thing as the voice, right? Because a lot of people think you have to have the voice to be a voiceover artist. But I do corporates. I do lots of corporates, educational content. What I can't do is...
Sure. Yeah. No, I hear you.
There is an audience for that. There is an audience that wants to hear natural voices with the accents, with the bits and babs. So don't limit yourself and say, I can't be a voiceover artist because I don't sound like Elma. There is one Elma. If a client wants to book Elma, they'll book me. If a client wants to use Bonang, they will use Bonang. They won't use Bonang Junior, Bonang Light, or, So be your authentic self, speak in your authentic voice, and let the client see you for who you are.
Alma. I feel like we need a part 2. I'm very sad that we have to say bye, but
Do we?
Yeah, unfortunately we have to go. We have to go home so that I can go Google sovereign. Yeah, Tyler, please. I can't do it in front of everybody. Alma, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank
We really appreciate your time.
Love it.
I feel like this definitely was a part 2 needing.
Yeah.
What I'm going to tell y'all is that I'm going to go pick her brain. I'm going to go say, girl, can I have your notebook? Can I talk to you?
Please, let's
What
be
are
besties.
your thoughts on A, B, C, D, E, F, G?
I'm already switched off. Hey.
No, Sibu, you need to engage. You
Okay,
need to
fine.
be
I'll go
within
back to
the
school.
within.
I'll go back to school.
No, The internet's a school.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
No, facts.
appreciate
No,
you for
very
having my
brand.
back.
State of the Strong podcast is a school.
Cool.
Unfortunately, for now, we have to close
Yeah.
today's lesson. So thank you for coming to class with us today. It was absolutely fun. To your left are exits. To your right.
Great voiceover work.
No, you did this.
Thank you guys for coming through. I appreciate you guys staying with us, watching the entire season 1, watching season 2. It's absolutely amazing. Sibumbanza, you are a gem. I love you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And I love that you love learning. And I love learning from you. Stop being dramatic.
Okay, I'm done.
That was State of the Strong A Bull Brand podcast, and we will see you guys on the flip side.
Bye. How Chef Gabzi's Oh, that looks good. What?
My word.
Talk to me. What are we looking at?
Bull Brand savory muffins.
Bull Brand savory muffins.
Yeah.
Say less. We're just gonna go
We need to
inside.
start speaking in our twangs now, man.
Thank you very much, Captain.
No, we're doing British accents going forward.
Yeah, there we go.
Doing savoury muffins.
Savory muffins.
Thank you,
Let's
love.
dig in. Let's do this. Savory Bull Brand muffins. Every time Chef Gabza makes something, I just get more and more mad at my mom for never making it for me in the first place. Okay, here we go. Ready? And it's still warm. Bull Brand ASMR.
Okay, if you guys are interested in any of these recipes or any of the other recipes you've seen on here, make sure that you go to www.bullbrand.co.za/recipe.
You can eat something almost as good as this.